of you who do not know me, my name is Erica Copeland, and today we're going to be going to the lab to synthesize acetyl salicylic acid, which is the same as aspirin. Aspirin is responsible for a wide range of physiological effects within our bodies. What it actually does is that it prevents prostaglandins from being synthesized. Prostaglandins are fat-derived molecules that are responsible for causing fever, inflammation, and pain. So by taking aspirin, we prevent the synthesis of prostaglandins and therefore we take care of those symptoms. This, of course, has a positive and a negative side. An example of a positive side would be that thromboxane A2, which is a prostaglandin that is needed for the activation of blood clotting, is inhibited when we take aspirin. So by taking aspirin, we reduce blood clotting, which is great news for patients that are at risk of strokes and heart disease. An example of a negative side will be that prostaglandins are also needed to make mucus in our stomach to protect our stomach lining from acid. So by taking aspirin, we don't make that prostaglandin to produce the mucus to protect us, and now we are at risk of gastric ulcers and internal bleeding. And like I mentioned before, taking aspirin is going to reduce blood clotting. So if we have internal bleeding going on, we're really in a dangerous situation. Anyways, we're going to be making some aspirin, and we're going to be using salicylic acid and acetic anhydride as our reactants and sulfuric acid as the catalyst. Our goal is to have a high percent yield and a pure product. The percent yield is going to be impacted by the reaction time. Think about it. If we don't let the reaction go to completion, then we're going to have a lower percent yield. Another thing that is going to be impacting our percent yield is the ice water bath. The ice water bath is going to ensure the crystallization process, so the formation of the crystals. If we don't let our product be in the ice water bath as long as it needs to be, we're not going to have as much crystals forming, and therefore we're going to have a lower percent yield. Also, if it's not cold enough, we're not going to have as many crystals forming and therefore a lower percent yield. Another thing is going to be the washing. We're going to be washing our product to wash away any impurities. But although our product is not very soluble, only about 3 milligrams per milliliter, every time that we wash it, we're going to be losing some product. Also, it's important that we're going to be using cold water to wash it because warm water is going to be able to dissolve our aspirin even faster. So the more washes that we do, the more our product is going to be pure. Another aspect that is going to be affecting purity is the recrystallization process. The slower the recrystallization process, the more pure our product is going to be. That's why it's important that I make sure that our product is cooled down before I put it in the ice water bath. If I put it in the ice water bath too soon, the recrystallization will happen too fast and we're going to have impurities trapped in the crystal lattice, and therefore our product is going to be impure. With that said, let's go to the lab. Hello guys, so I'm here in the lab and we're going to be synthesizing some aspirin. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay guys, the very first step would be to get a 600 milliliter beaker, and we're going to add in about 500 milliliters of water. Then we're going to go ahead and heat it up until it reaches 75 degrees Celsius. To keep track of the temperature, I'm going to place this thermometer here. In the meantime, I got a 250 milliliter Erlenmeyer flask to which I've added about 100 milliliters of deionized water. I also prepared an ice water bath that I'm going to be using to cool this water down. This water is going to be important later on when it comes to washing. There it is. Then I got this 50 milliliter Erlenmeyer flask, and I'm going to be adding to it about 2 grams of salicylic acid. Here is the salicylic acid that we're going to be adding in. Here is the balance. I'm going to go ahead and place on it the Erlenmeyer flask, and then I'm going to go ahead and stir it. Now we're going to go ahead and add about 2 grams of salicylic acid. That's close enough. Now we're going to obtain about 5 milliliters of this acetic anhydride using this graduated cylinder. Here's a closer look. Now we're going to be adding the acetic anhydride into the 50 milliliter Erlenmeyer flask that contains the salicylic acid, and we're also going to be adding anywhere between 5 to 10 drops of concentrated sulfuric acid. The concentrated sulfuric acid will be acting as the catalyst in this reaction. Once the water reaches 75 degrees Celsius, we're going to go ahead and submerge the 50 milliliter Erlenmeyer flask. Our 50 milliliter Erlenmeyer flask is ready to go. Okay guys, he's ready. Now we're going to keep the temperature at 75 degrees and we're going to wait 15 minutes. We're going to go ahead and stir occasionally. After 15 minutes, I'm going to be removing the 50 milliliter Erlenmeyer flask from the hot water and I'm going to be adding 2 milliliters of room temperature deionized water. The water is going to decompose any excess acetic anhydride. We're going to let the flask cool down for a few minutes and then we're going to add 20 milliliters of water. Now we're going to place this 50 milliliter Erlenmeyer flask into this ice water bath and we should see that some crystals start to form. Is ready. We're going to get our crystals by filtering our product through this Bushnell funnel using suction. We're going to be putting in this filter to avoid losing any product. We're going to add some deionized water on the edges to make sure that it's suctioning right. Okay, let's get started. Let's take a closer look at our crystals. We still have some crystals left over in here, so I'm going to add some cold water and then I'm going to go ahead and filter it again. Now we're going to be washing the aspirin with two 10 milliliter portions of ice cold water. Here's the first one. goes the second one. We added in the water to wash away any impurities, and now we're going to wait for it to dry. Now that the aspirin is dry, I'm going to go ahead and add it to the vial. Here is the finished product.